I spent years saving money to give my parents something they never would have asked for themselves. After my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, my mother devoted her entire life to caring for him without ever complaining. Watching their sacrifices made me promise that one day I would give them a peaceful place where they could enjoy life together. When I found a quiet lakeside property, I bought it, demolished the old building, and spent more than $300,000 constructing a fully accessible dream cottage. Every detail was designed for my father's comfort, from wide hallways and wheelchair-friendly spaces to a wraparound porch where he could sit and watch the lake every evening. I even prepaid 15 years of property taxes and placed the home into an irrevocable trust so no one could ever take it away from them. The only people I intentionally kept away from the project were my older sister, Brooke, and her husband, Mason. Brooke had slowly drifted away from the family after Dad became sick, while Mason viewed everything as a business opportunity. He always looked for ways to make money, even if it meant taking advantage of family. I knew that if they learned about the cottage too soon, they would never see it as a gift. They would only see dollar signs. On my parents' 40th wedding anniversary, I surprised them by driving them to the cottage instead of taking them out for dinner. The moment they saw the house beside the lake, both of them were overwhelmed. My mother burst into tears, and my father stood silently on the porch staring at the water. He finally whispered that he thought their chance to enjoy a place like this had disappeared years ago. That weekend became one of the happiest moments our family had shared in a long time. We unpacked groceries, arranged furniture, laughed together, and watched the sunset from the dock. For the first time in years, I believed everything would finally be okay. Only a few days later, my mother accidentally mentioned the cottage to Brooke. She immediately asked for the address and arrived with Mason that weekend. I was too busy with work to join them, believing it was simply a family visit. I was completely wrong. A few days later, my father sent me a short text asking me to come immediately. The moment I arrived, I saw Mason outside measuring the dock and taking pictures of the property. Inside, Brooke and Mason were discussing rental income as if the cottage already belonged to them. Mason proudly showed my parents spreadsheets explaining how much money they could earn by renting the house to vacation guests during the summer. According to his plan, my parents would only stay there when it was not booked. My father looked angry, but remained silent while my mother appeared completely overwhelmed. As someone who works in contract administration, I never leave anything to chance. I returned to my car, grabbed my legal documents, and calmly placed them on the kitchen table. I explained that the property belonged to an irrevocable trust with my parents as the only lifetime beneficiaries. No one else had any authority to rent, lease, or profit from it. I also revealed that Mason had already created an online rental listing using photos he secretly took that morning. Before driving to the cottage, I'd already reported the listing for fraud and requested its removal. Then, I handed both of them a formal cease and desist notice, warning that any further attempt to interfere with the property would lead to immediate legal action. The confidence disappeared from Mason's face. Brooke accused me of trying to control everyone, but I calmly reminded them that I had built the cottage for my parents after 13 years of watching them fight through illness together. It was never meant to become someone else's business investment. I asked them to leave, and after a heated argument, they finally drove away. The situation only became worse over the following weeks. Mason began posting vague messages on social media about generosity with strings attached, hoping family members would turn against me. Instead of arguing online, I had my attorney send legal notices warning them against making false statements or interfering with the trust. Every post disappeared within 2 days. Not long afterward, my father called in panic because a stranger had arrived claiming he rented the cottage through Mason. Thankfully, I had installed security cameras during construction. Watching everything unfold from my office, I immediately contacted local authorities and warned Mason that deputies were on the way. The fake renter left before police arrived, and I upgraded every lock and security system that same weekend. As time passed, peace finally returned. My parents spent quiet mornings drinking coffee on the porch, feeding birds near the dock, and enjoying the life they had dreamed about for years. Brooke stopped calling, while Mason eventually sent a brief apology that I never answered. Sitting beside my parents one evening as the sun reflected across the calm lake, I realized something important. Love does not mean allowing people to take advantage of your kindness. Real love means protecting the people who matter most, even when that requires firm boundaries. The cottage was never about money or ownership. It was about giving my parents the peaceful future they had earned and making sure no one could ever steal it away.